How are you doing today, Morgan?
I'm doing good, David. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. It is Monday morning. It's kind of like crappy outside. The weather's not too nice. How are you
Yeah,
doing?
I'm doing great. It was a great weekend. I enjoyed it. It was that 50s.
Yeah,
I'll take the 50s over the 30s in Michigan every single day.
absolutely. It still was kind of not so nice though. I guess I was just in Florida like a week ago, so that weather compared to here is like, it's uncomparable.
Absolutely. Oh, I haven't been anywhere that warm in a very long time, it feels like,
Oh,
since January.
oh,
Did you go
that's
down
not.
for fun, for business, combo? What was your
Um,
sort of trip?
I guess fun. I went down to get my dad to bring him back to Michigan. So it was just like a day I was down there. And the day that I was down there, it was extremely nice and I enjoyed it. So yeah, and here we are back in Michigan.
And hopefully the temperature keeps going up. We golfed this weekend and it was beautiful except for the winds because we played a spot that was like on a hill, so the wind was all over the place, but it was
Oh
still
wow.
beautiful. I'm just happy it's getting warmer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Are you from the Lansing area? And first of all, how did you hear about the podcast?
A great question. So I'm part of the 517 community page, which
Okay.
probably just about everybody in Lansing is at this point, because
I would
Sarah's done an amazing job of growing that group.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I believe you posted a question that you were like looking for people to fill my podcast. Um, And I think I just commented or I sent you a message, and then I set this up like back in January or February.
Wow.
So, and it's now May 2nd. So it's been a while.
It has.
But
And that goes to show like how many people have been on the podcast since then, because as soon as I posted that, so many people reached out and it was like almost to the point where like I'm like, I don't know how to control and manage this. I just need to find a way to have people schedule themselves. And so here we are like 2 months later, and you're finally just now getting on the podcast. It's crazy.
and out of curiosity, why did you start the podcast? And did you start it this year or when was your start date?
I started last year. I started
Okay.
in, I think January or February was when I released my first episode. So it's been going a while, but it's been
Nice.
fun. It's been a great learning experience, and I've gotten to meet a ton of people, ton of interesting people. I believe today I just released episode 74.
That's
So
exciting.
yeah, I'm well on my way. Yeah. Um, so anyways, enough about me since you tried interviewing me. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You from the Lansing area? Obviously you are. You're from the Lansing area.
Yep. So I grew up in Mason,
Okay.
graduated from Mason High School, went to SAMU for college, and now back in Lansing. Never really have lived anywhere else other than Mount Pleasant for that few years, albeit
Wh-
up there.
What did you go to college for?
I have an exercise science degree with a nutrition and community health or public health minor. I don't know what they call it these days. And I'm one of the ones that get to use my major and one of my minors in my career, and I love it.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. Thankfully you didn't put that to waste.
Right.
So what kind of things do you do with your major? What do you do for a job? How do you make your living?
So up until March 2020, when probably a lot of things changed for a lot of people, I was an in-person personal trainer. I worked for a couple of gyms in the Lansing area, and I loved personal training. I loved the aspect of helping someone, even just in that hour that I saw them,
Yeah.
like feel better about themselves physically, mentally, whether it was just we walked on the treadmill and I was just their therapist to listen to them and what they were dealing with, or if it was my clients who wanted to be pushed to the max, whatever it was. I loved it. And when everything shut down, I think it was like March 17th or something, we got the email that said everyone's being laid off.
Oh wow.
And I was like, okay. So I went into panic mode because that's kind of who I am. I like to know things have a schedule, they have a regiment. Like if it doesn't go that way, it stresses me out. So I started seeing some of my clients virtually just through FaceTime. And then I saw some out in parks because that was still a thing. March 2020, if you remember, was freezing. I think it was like 10 degrees one morning when I met out in a park, and we decided to put that on hold.
Wow.
And then August 2020, I filed for my LLC, and I wanted to do this as like virtual personal training as like my career rather than just something I was doing on the side to get me through to get back to the gym. I
Right.
learned it was something that I wanted to be able to do from me being anywhere and my clients being anywhere. I have clients who were in Florida for 8 weeks and they did not skip a beat in their training schedule
Wow.
because they took their stuff that they needed to. I was here. I went to Arizona a few months ago and I was able to train them while I had an unexpected delay. Like nothing has to be put on hold with what I do, and I love it.
That is very interesting because that's one thing the pandemic did for a lot of people. I talk about it all the time on the podcast, is it forced people to kind of like reinvent who they are and reinvent the way they do things. And I know like for the fitness industry, it took a huge turn because I mean a lot of people were in person like you, and they were like, how else can I train other people? And so they resorted to like Zoom meetings or Skype or just doing virtual things, or like meeting in parks like you had mentioned. And yeah, and I think that a lot of people probably stuck with it, right? Stuck with that kind of training.
And when I went back, I was part-time doing what I was doing, part-time back at the gym that I was with. And the one thing that was the disconnect for me was when I had my clients virtually, I wasn't just with them that hour that I was with them. Like I was talking to them almost every single day. Like it was like an all-encompassing like health program that I was helping them with.
Okay.
Whereas when I was in person, I felt like I was only there for them in that moment that they were in the gym. And I know that probably could have changed, but the fact that I'd created it on my own, I was like, yeah, there's a lot.
This episode is brought to you by Red Bike Delivery. This delivery service operates only using battery-powered, eco-friendly transportation. Red Bike Delivery is there for all your delivery needs, whether it's dinner for the family, flowers for your partner, or new houseplants for your new collection. Red Bike Delivery will gladly deliver those and everything in between. So what are you waiting for? Check out Red Bike Delivery on Facebook or Instagram for more information. Red Bike Delivery, because there's only one Earth.
Missing. So I was able to put in the pieces that were missing and figure out what was missing. And the nutritional portion of personal training, the like mental side, like
Yeah.
how do we deal with our stress? It's not just working out. Like there's all these different aspects that we don't focus on when you're just in a 60-minute training session, where I'm able to help them in different areas. And I love it because no one's really missing out.
So what is the process like whenever you're creating, I mean, I guess when you went to go start this training program, your what do you call it? Is it a training program that you do?
So I do two things. I do one-on-one training. So like if you were interested, we'd essentially sit down, see if we're a good fit, and then we'd figure out what your goals are, and we'd start getting you on with small like tasks in your nutrition, in your water. We'd start really small in all these areas
Yeah.
and slowly work you through. And then I have another thing called an accountability program, where it's people who kind of know what they're doing. They just need somebody to check in with them, of like that buddy that's actually going to follow up. Like, hey, did you go do that thing you said you were going to do?
Right.
So I kind of have two different areas that I focus in, and both of them though, we start out really small. We all get into this like, I'm going to do it all. I'm going to go 110%, and then we don't do any of it.
Yeah.
So I'm all about, are you ready? Let's move forward one small step.
That's one thing with fitness for me is accountability. Accountability helps me. I mean, I can work out like on my own without anybody pushing me. But when I have like a reason to work out and when I'm training for something specifically, then I'm working out like a madman. And like, for instance, right now, my working out since I went to Florida has kind of been like all over the place. But like I'm in the middle of some weight gain challenge with some coworkers, and it's kind of interesting to watch because I'm like the fitness guy, and then like the two other guys that I'm doing it with, one guy did work out but he doesn't work out consistently, And then the other guy, like he's kind of getting back into shape and everything, but him and I have kind of been going back and forth with working out and just jumping into savage mode, I guess. Whereas the other guy, like he hasn't worked out at all, but like the whole accountability thing, you know, keeping each other accountable and like the positive reinforcement, like texting, hey, you know, I'm getting after it right now. You guys get after it too, has helped a lot. And I think a lot of people don't have that.
They don't. And if they do, sounds like you have a really good like group where you guys are all holding each other accountable.
Yeah.
Whereas I've found where there's like a group of people and only one of the people in the group takes the reins and feels like they're having to hold accountability for everybody.
Yeah.
And nobody's holding accountability for them.
Yeah.
So when you have something like I do, they're not holding me accountable to anything. They are making sure I'm doing what I'm doing, but like I am there for them completely. Whereas sometimes when we get with our friends, like, oh yeah, remind me to do that. We all have other things going on in our life that we end up forgetting about. We're like, yeah, I was supposed to text you that. Completely forgot. Like,
yeah.
It's just a different level. But it sounds like
Yeah.
you have a really good support system when it comes to your guys' challenge right now.
I do, and I think a lot of it has to do with us talking crap to each other too, because that's part of the fun is, you know, us fat shaming each other and all that jazz. But even though we're not really fat, but it's just a bunch of guys talking crap to each other. What got you into the fitness industry? What led you to want to do that for a career?
So I grew up like just probably a lot of other people. I played sports all growing up. And then my senior year in high school, I decided I wasn't a huge fan of the team sport aspects. So I ran my first 25K and half marathon, and I really liked the training. There was a teacher at school, and he used to like run Boston Marathon and all that. So he set up our training program, and I loved the run, cross train. Like I loved the program that was set up. So then when I went to school, I originally wanted to do dietetics, but then realized that there's a lot more chem and orgo in there than I ever wanted to do. And so I circled back to, I love programming and seeing the results in somebody's strength, being able to teach people that like there is a proper way to garden, there is a proper way to shovel something so you don't throw your back out, whether you're 20 or you're 50. Like, so it all kind of started when I was given a program that I really liked, and I was like, oh, I'd like to do this for somebody else. And it's fun. I love it. I do videos, like I'll write the program for people, and then I do demo videos all kind of in my home gym here.
Oh, cool.
And it's so much fun to just get creative with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what kind of workouts do you typically come up with? Are they like CrossFit or like a functional strength type workout programs?
Great question. So not CrossFit. I like to kind of, every single workout has 5 main components, and you always have a push. So something for the front, a pull, something for your back, a squat, something for the front of your legs, a hinge, something for the backs of your legs and your glutes, and then core work. So essentially I hit those 5 components, and then I get to play around with, okay, do we have biceps today? Do we have triceps? How many core moves do we need depending on, I work with a lot of moms. So whether they've had a kid, they're getting ready to have a kid, or they've had a kid a while ago, our pelvic floor is super unstable, even for men, that like we do a lot of core work and like really working those deep down muscles that like nobody thinks about. Like sit-ups aren't going to do it, but we have to think about like those intricate, which I love. I'm like, ooh, what fun exercise can we get those little muscles activated?
So you have everybody cussing you out in the middle of their workouts.
I actually talked to a client this morning. She's like, yeah, Morgan, I always think about you are saying slow in the back of my mind when I'm doing these. And I'm thinking, these are awful, but I know I need to do them.
I think it's important for people to have that one person that they know they could have in the back of their mind whenever they're doing something, be like, oh, they would want me to do it like this. Like for me, there was a guy that I used to train with, his name's Shane, and he owned a gym out in Perry. It was called Functional Fitness. And he did a lot of strength training type workouts. And I mean, he said so many things, but like whenever I'm doing a workout and I'm not going to my full potential, I think of his voice in the back of my head telling me to push it or stop sandbagging or whatever it is. And then I'm like, okay, I needed that. I think it's important to have that voice.
It is important to have that voice, and it's a voice that is going, like you said, going to push you, and that you're not just going to push off like it's your own.
Yeah.
I have somebody else that it's probably about a year ago. We were talking about eating in the kitchen, and when everyone was still working from home full time, she's like, I just keep going to the fridge. So I printed off her a little picture of me with like the word why. And like she stuck it right on her fridge. She's like, this is awesome. Cause now I stop and I'm like, I can hear you in the back of my mind saying, why are you going to the fridge right now? Like we just need that person.
Yeah. I mean, that goes back to the accountability partner, right? Like you have that one person that you know that will always hold you accountable no matter what. But it's also important to know that, that person wants you to be happy also. It's important to, not keep yourself like from wanting to eat certain things or do certain things, and right.
Absolutely. And that's like, I am not an all or nothing type of person. My thing is, I've never wanted somebody to tell me what I can and cannot eat in my life. I'm not going to tell you what you can and cannot eat. If you want to have it, let's work on portions, moderation, a way that you can enjoy it, but not overeat it where we're just like, now I don't even enjoy that food. I didn't even like enjoy the moment of eating it. Like,
right.
So having that of go out and have fun with your girlfriends. I don't care. Go have fun. Just know that by you not doing this, there will be a consequence to yourself, but you have to. And as long as you can say it and you can accept it, I'm all for it, because we have one life, and it really sucks to have to limit ourselves from the things we love to hit a certain look of our bodies or number on the scale, whatever it is. Like, I love to go out and have fun. Like, I'm not going to limit my time to have fun because I want to look a certain way. I want to feel good in who I am and still do the things I love.
Yeah, you have to enjoy life a little bit. When you're coming up with like a diet plan for somebody, what does that consist of, and what does that look like, based on like their needs and what they like to eat and stuff like that?
So I will never write something specific for each person. I do a lot of like general. So macros, I kind of talk about macros, but I don't talk about it in terms of like, let's track like how many carbs you've had, how many grams of fat or protein. I really do like, okay, look at your plate. Do you have a carb? Do you have a fat? And do you have a protein? Because when we can get an equal amount of each of those categories, our blood sugar stays level for longer, and we don't end up with those spikes and those sugar rushes and all of those feelings of like, I need more food now, or I'm starving.
Right.
So we talk more generally of like, okay, you eat a lot of pizza. Pizza's fine. Pizza doesn't have a lot of protein. Pizza has a lot of fat and carbs. So what can we pair with it so that you feel better longer rather than in 30 minutes needing something else? So we look at what can we pull in or manipulate so you can still get the things you love, but you don't have to like complete a whole different meal. You don't have to make 2 different meals. Like, what can we just add to it to make it a little bit more filling for you so you feel better for longer?
If I'm eating pizza, I'm not eating anything else. That's a cheat meal for me.
I'll usually do wings or salad, or the 2 that will end up comboing somehow.
That's actually a good idea. A salad before pizza is really good.
It is. Like a big garden salad or a big Caesar salad is always so good.
Yeah, that's a good thing to add to a pizza. Yeah. Now you make me I want pizza now.
I've had pizza all weekend. I'm pizza out for the time being.
So how often do you find yourself working out? I'm sure that when you're training other people and you're helping other people, it's harder to find time for yourself, right?
When I was at the gym and I was in person training, yes, I felt like I struggled to like get that balance in of like, at the end of my day, I'm exhausted. At the start of my day, I'm up so early.
Yeah.
But since transferring to virtual completely, I've been able to find these gaps in, okay, I have an hour and a half break here. Can I get a 30-minute workout in the same space that I'm currently in now, and jump on the bike, lift some weights, do something small. And I've really taken out the whole, like, it has to be a 60-minute workout for it to be worth it. And to me, that's what's been helpful is, can I start every morning with some sort of movement or something for myself, whether it's reading, whether it's listening to something educational, like, can I start my day with something for myself,
Yeah.
stretching, movement? And if I can't, where can I fit it in my schedule to have that? And I prefer to work out in the morning, but lately I've been enjoying my evening workouts. So I work out at least 3 times a week for myself, because I know if I don't, I can't show up for my people. I have aches and pains. I have to see my chiropractor more. I have to do all these things that if I don't keep up on myself, how can I preach it to them that, like, yeah, you must work out 3 days a week. And if I can't even do it.
Right. Yeah.
So
I
I've
mean,
learned to schedule myself in my calendar before other people.
do you miss working in the gym?
I do a little bit. I miss the gym atmosphere of when you're working with someone, but also seeing like 8 different people who are members.
Right.
Like there was so many people that I had a really good relationship with that I didn't never trained. They were just people that were part of the club that I just knew really well. I knew their lives. And I don't get that when I'm in a virtual setting, because I'm one-on-one with people. I don't have that in and out of just general conversation that happens in the day. So I miss that aspect of it for sure.
What do you think is more productive? Do you think it's a little bit more productive to train somebody online or to train them in person?
And for them or for me?
I guess for either.
So for me, I find online is more productive because I'm able to offer a variety of, whether it's us being on screen together for a solid half hour or me writing you a program and us checking in once a week. I have more variety. So I feel like I can serve people in a better way, in a stronger way, and have more variety for lots of people. And I think for them, it really depends on the type of person you are. If you're someone who is really good at, like, I'm giving you your homework, go do your homework and come back to me, we do really well in one type of setting. Like we could do really well virtually. If you're someone who's like, no, I need you with me all of the time, following me around, like all of that, an in-person setting is going to be easier because you're going to have that person with you all of the time. I do a few of those sessions still virtually, but I've switched a little bit because I do have clients who go to the gym, and it's weird if they take me on their phone through the gym, propping me up, having me tell them what to do. Like, it's just a little awkward in that sense.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who really enjoys the gym and you really need someone to sit there and make sure that everything looks good and that your numbers are right, and you don't want to count, you don't want to think at all, you just want to be told what to do, in person is the best way for you, because you'll have that person right there and there's no excuses for that. If you're a little bit more like, give me the homework, I'm going to get it on my own time, we're going to get in the calendar, virtual is awesome because I can fit it into my schedule. We're not trying to time block a bunch of time where we're like, oh, I have to cancel because of X, Y, and Z, I have to cancel. Like, we can be really strategic with it.
How do you have a lot of clients?
I do. I think I have like 15 right now, which is a pretty heavy course, course load.
And they do online sessions 3 times a week?
So I have 5 of them that do 2 online sessions a week. I don't have very many do 3 unless they come to any of my group fitness classes, because I do virtual group fitness classes, and that's usually where they add their 3rd one in.
So you keep cutting in and out, I'm sorry. What is the name of your business?
Get Fit with Me LLC.
Okay. And that's an online based business, correct?
Yep, fully online. It's a spin on my name. So Get Fit With, my initials are Morgan Ekovich. So it was my creativeness during COVID to create a business with my own initials.
What was your I mean, obviously you said when you created the business, your intentions was to be able to do it full time. Mm-hmm. Is that something you've been able to accomplish, and has it exceeded your expectations?
So end of last October, so October 2021, I left my gym job completely and was able to move into this full time because my client load for my business had increased. So
Wow.
I was able to, and this year, after kind of doing the whole like, okay, what's the first quarter look like? Because you got to look at the numbers to figure out if it is worth it. And it's been able to be really sustainable and allowed me to have my freedom, but also allowed me to grow my clientele and do this full time and not feel like I need to go get a second job anywhere to supplement what I've been doing. And I love it. I love that this is like, I get to wake up and just do this.
That is awesome. I mean, because you're helping people from the comfort of your own home.
Mm-hmm.
That's gotta be nice. It's gotta be really nice.
It is. And from the comfort of their own home too. I see people at all times of the day. It's hilarious. Some people are like, I'm sorry you can see me like this. I'm like, I don't care. You see me like this in the morning. Like, neither of us have brushed our hair at 6 a.m. and that's okay. Like,
That's funny. And I think that's important too, because a lot of people, like, especially if you're going to the gym or you're just starting to get into fitness and you're starting to work out, you don't feel comfortable going to a gym and learning how to use the equipment because you don't, like, you're afraid of people talking about you or looking bad or not, like, just looking like you don't know what you're doing.
Mhm.
So it kind of adds like I guess a whole new perspective to somebody who would like to start working out, and it would help them, I would think.
yeah, I
Help
have
them
a
feel
lot of
more,
clients
it would help them
who
feel more
will,
comfortable and stuff.
they feel more comfortable because they're like,
Yeah.
okay, I know the basics. Now I can move into something a little bit more. I'm ready to go to the gym because I've
Yeah.
lost X amount of weight, or I just feel better about myself. Or the other one I hear a lot is, I'm a mom and I can't take my kids because the gym that I was a part of didn't have childcare.
Mm,
So it doesn't put those limitations on what comes up in everyday life as an excuse or a justification for not doing anything. Like, if you can do it in your own home, you can do it anywhere.
yeah.
And I started off doing videos with laundry soap because all the equipment sold out and I didn't have
Right.
any at the time. So it's like, we don't need anything fancy to do it from your house. And I love that.
Yeah, that's one thing I was extremely fortunate about. I started getting a home gym like years ago, when like I started having kids, and I'm like, I don't have time to go to a gym for 2 hours. Cause I mean, you drive there, you get ready to go, and then you drive there, and then you get there, change, do whatever it is you need to do, work out, and then drive home. And by the time that's all said and done, it's like 2 hours.
Mhm.
And you just don't got time when you have children. And so for me, like when COVID hit, I had a home gym. And so I just kept on working out like nothing happened. And my friends were contacting me wanting to come over and use my gym. And so I allowed them to. But that's one thing I preach to a lot of people is like, you should always buy equipment to have at home. Even if you don't want to have a home gym, buy some dumbbells or
Mhm.
buy some kettlebells, buy something that you can throw around and you can get a really good workout with some really lightweight.
Exactly. And there's more fun stuff. So let's say you only have a set of 5-pound dumbbells and you're way too strong for those. Well, you're going to do it for a longer amount of time. Like, you can
Yeah.
play with all these different factors. So if you're like, well, I only have fives, I can't do anything. No, you can still do stuff.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
you could box.
I can show you a lot of things you can do with 5-pound dumbbells and you will not like it by the end. Like, or if the weight's really heavy, like, what do you find in the house that's different? Because you're right,
Right.
having just something, whether you're not feeling great and you can't go to the gym, or some situation comes up, you have an option and you're not just
Yeah.
stranded of like, okay, that's it. That can't do anything.
Well, I think it's an excuse too to say, oh, I don't have gym equipment, because you really do not even need weight. I mean, you could do body weight things, you can do burpees. And there's so many. You said yeah, like you love burpees.
I don't love burpees, but I love body weight stuff
Yeah.
because travel. Maybe you're
Yeah.
someone who travels a lot, like, and you can't take your dumbbells.
Right.
I'm not wasting 10 pounds of my suitcase weight on some 10-pound dumbbell. Like, that's not happening. But there's other pieces that you can purchase that weigh nothing, or just body weight in general.
Yeah.
You can get a really good workout in if you know what you're supposed to do and you have the guidance in
Right.
that direction.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things you could do there. I mean, like you can do squat jumps, squats, you can do burpees, push-ups. I mean, there's so many things. I oftentimes incorporate a lot of body weight stuff into my normal workouts, even like I'll do like 100 push-ups before I do upper body, or squats before, or squat jumps or burpees before I do other exercises.
I use body weight as a really good warm-up tool, because so often we also forget about that warm-up and that cool down.
Yeah.
Like, okay, maybe you're going to do some deadlifts today. Let's do some glute bridges to get your glutes warmed up.
Yeah.
Maybe you are going to do some push-ups before you go into chest, or some band pull-aparts. There's all these different body weight movements that just get you out of like sitting in front of your computer all day long. Like, okay, let's get our muscles activated. Let's stand up. Let's get the things moving how they're supposed to.
I think it's wise, by the way, that you're standing, not sitting.
Okay.
I feel like it probably makes you a little bit more comfortable to be in front of a camera, because you can kind of move around a little bit.
And this is how I do all my training. So when I go live every Thursday in my Facebook group, I'm either here or I'm back here. Like, I'm moving around. So this is a comfortable position. To talk when I sit, I turtle, I hunt, I do all the things. Like, this is uncomfortable. Yeah. So I'm used to standing when I talk about things that I'm passionate about, because I feel like I can lean into what I'm talking about a little bit more confidently than when I'm sitting and I'm feeling like comfortable type of thing.
That's a good move. That's a really good move. Because I find myself, like, whenever I'm doing a podcast, even like right now, I'm like leaning on the table, and I'm like swiveling around in my chair. I keep having to like readjust so I stand up or sit up straight. Just standing is a good move, but I'm not going to do podcast standing. So
see, if I had it as a career, I may be in the same boat as you, but considering I don't do it, I do a lot of up and down throughout my day. Like, I work with some companies too, to just talk about like reducing stress in your neck and like having good posture and a sit stand desk. Like, you can be sedentary standing or you can be sedentary sitting. So if you have the option throughout your day to go from stand to sit and kind of move around, that's where you're going to get the most benefit, is when you're not just sitting all day, you're not just standing. I move up and down with this desk all day long.
That's one thing, like a lot of people who work like an office job, they oftentimes use the fact that they have to sit all day to where they can't work out. Like, I can't work out because I'm sitting all day and my neck hurts and my back hurts, like all these things. But like, if it were me, I think I would have like a dumbbell beside my chair for one. And then I would actively stand up and try to work if I was allowed. But I feel like that would be beneficial as far as like trying to stay active.
So as you can see over there, I have a bunch of resistance bands. And if you just get yourself a resistance band, or even TheraBand, where like, if you have ever been in PT, it's the band that they rip off or they cut off for you and they're like, here you go, here's your band.
Right.
Keeping it on your desk is a great way to like, one, visualize like, okay, there's something that I can do. Whether you do it or not is a different problem. But if you see it, you can pick it up every hour and do some different moves. Maybe you're gonna do calf raises while you're here. Like, there's a lot of little things that we can do. And I find it's not because people I've talked to, it's not because they don't want to. It's not because they feel like they can't, because they just don't remember. So I have people who have sticky notes all around their computer screen of like, do calf raises, like have all these things. I have people who set alarms on their phone for the top of each hour. When it goes off, they grab water and they do a little 5-minute mini circuit. It's finding what trigger for you is going to remind you to move, because we're all different. I like alarms. Anytime my alarm goes off, I'll go upstairs, I'll refill my water if it needs to be. I'll do a little stroll around the house, I'll do some movement. Okay, now I can come back and work. And it's also a good spot to get your mind away from the screen.
Yeah.
You can't be in front of the screens all day long.
Yeah, that's not healthy either. Now, when you went from the gym to online, what was that freedom like? Obviously you're a little bit more free because you can kind of create your own schedule right now. What is that freedom like for you?
So I was able to create my own schedule at the gym, which was really nice. The place I was at, I could choose when I wanted to work, when I didn't want to work.
Wow.
But the freedom, it allowed me to grow and help people, not from just one area. Like, when I was in the gym, I felt like I could only help people when I was at the gym.
Gotcha.
Whereas here, I can take my laptop and go anywhere and have a call with anybody. I can chat with anybody from anywhere because we have so much technology, Zoom,
Yeah.
Facebook, our phones, laptops, whatever, that I feel like by doing this, I have the freedom for me to move, for them to move, and for flexibility in life to kind of be honored. Because I think
Yeah.
sometimes when I was in person, it was like, I can't make it because this came up, and it just had to be a cancel. It was a flat out cancel. Whereas now it's, hey, I have to work this day. Can we meet a different time? And there's so much more flexibility in both of our schedules of like, hey, I'm leaving this weekend to go up north. We need to move our session earlier. What times and days work? Like, I'm in complete control, and I get to grow a business, which is fun. Like, I never thought I wanted to like own a business, like be an entrepreneur. I actually did not do great in an entrepreneurship class in college. Not great at all. But now that I'm in it, I love it, and I can't imagine doing anything else.
What has it been like trying to grow a business? Because just doing fitness as a career in itself is difficult. Trying to like, form workout plans and like meal plan type things, and scheduling and all that jazz. And then you're also managing the business side of it. Is it difficult?
It is. Time management is very challenging sometimes, or creating your work-life balance.
Yeah.
Because there's always so much to do. There's always so much to do and things to happen. And
there's always something to do, right?
Yes. And I fell into that hamster wheel in the beginning of like, felt like I was always working all the time, all the time. But I enjoyed it. But knowing that then burnout happens.
Yeah.
So now I'm really good on like, I use a journal every single morning. I'm a very pen and paper person. I write down what needs to happen today, and I kind of circle or star the top 3 things that need to happen for me to feel accomplished for the business. Because the training and stuff, I've been doing that for years. That stuff is second nature.
Yeah.
The business stuff is like, okay, what's the next thing? Oh, it's the end of the quarter. I got to look at X, Y, and Z. That like every single day I write down everything that needs to happen, and I make sure I get at least 3 of those things done. And it happens. I make sure there's time for it. And if I don't have any time, I only choose 1 to get done that day. And that's where my time management has helped, because we do try to do everything and we just keep going, and all of a sudden it's like 9 o'clock at night. Like, oh, there's supposed to be dinner in here somewhere. Like,
that's kind of my problem with like the podcast, is trying to find that balance, because it takes so much time to try to like, I guess, get an episode out, where like I sit down, I do the interview with somebody that takes like an hour to hour and a half, depending. And then after that, it's like 2 to 3 hours after each episode, of editing and then uploading and typing a description and all that jazz. So like by the time it's all said and done, especially if I have, 5 episodes in a weekend, it's like I've spent like probably 40 hours just doing podcasts outside of like my normal job. And it can be like overwhelming. So I would assume for like a lot of like business owners, it's hard to find that balance, especially the balance to like have like time for yourself to like work out and all just the normal things that you want to do.
I think I came into my business in a kind of unique position too, with being laid off. I knew that first priority was me. So since then, like, me time has been scheduled, and then my client's time, and then the business time. So like, whereas so many people, I feel like, go into the business after leaving something because they were either unhappy, or it's a dream they've been wanting to move forward on, and they're just really driven in the business. And I was, but it wasn't until about 6 months in when I was like, okay, I want to like actually do this, is when that business like mindset kicked in for me.
Yeah.
So I'd already learned how to balance me and my clients. That third piece, then I got to come in and see, okay, well, how many hours do I have left in the week? Okay, what has to get done to make the business run in the amount of time that I actually have available?
Right.
Like, I think I had a unique situation when that happened. And I'm very grateful for it, because it's also, somebody told me once, they asked, are you a firefighter? Are you a policeman? Or do you work for EMS? I said, no. They're like, it's not life or death. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
That's a good perspective.
Like, yeah, like I'm always like very quick to do things, and it's not life or death. If something comes up that takes more precedence in my life, I need to be able to balance and acknowledge that. So like, it's okay if that one spreadsheet does not get done today. It can get done tomorrow. It can be moved to the list and it's okay.
Right. Yeah, I think that that kind of adds to the unhealthy mindset, right? Like whenever you focus on the things that always have to be done, it can create a very unhealthy
Mhm.
mindset, because then you're just constantly stressed out and worried about what's next, what's next, what's next.
And then you fall into like the mindlessness of it all. And you're like, oh, the month went by. What did I even do this month? Like, because
Yeah.
there's a nice part to a routine and habit that just kind of runs itself. But you also have to have room in there for growth and for creativity and for the fun things, whether it's in business or in your personal life, to break up the mundaneness of like, get up, do the things. Like,
Yeah.
okay, now what are you going to do to break that up? Because if not, I find that that's probably where we fall into not enjoying what we love to do anymore. Like,
Yeah.
if every single day you got up and you did the podcast and you just kept going and you didn't allow yourself to do other things, that's where burnout happens. That's where we wouldn't enjoy what we love.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, what type of things do you typically do? Because I mean, your career is like in the fitness industry. So you're constantly working out or doing workout type things with other people and with yourself. I mean, like for me, working out is like a relief. Like it's a relief from like all my daily activities. It makes me feel better. But I could imagine that if that was my job, that it would almost feel like I'm working in a sense. What kind of other things do you do other than working out that help you like balance like anxiety and all that jazz?
So I really like going for walks, especially as Michigan's getting warmer here. I love just like getting out and walking. I've had a goal this year and I'm finally moving towards it. And I've been dragging my feet on it because I've put myself in parameters. So my goal was to read 3 books this year, which for some people that may not sound like a lot.
How many?
Um,
3?
3.
Wow.
I don't enjoy reading. Really don't. It is like, it used to be my least favorite thing in the world. And I kept telling myself that I had to physically read a book. And I realized like an audio book counts. So last month I actually read 2 books or listened to 2 books because I allowed myself the flexibility in I need to learn and move. So how I help a lot of mine is like get outside, get fresh air, even if it's just up and down the driveway to check the mail a few times a day, even though you know you've already grabbed it. Like walk up and down the driveway, listen to something, whether it's your music, find an audiobook. I've been doing more educational stuff.
Mm,
And honestly, I just like stretching. Like I don't, my goal this year is also to do more stretching. And there's weeks where I'm not great at it, but I can really feel it if I don't. And I can
yeah.
really feel it in my neck, especially when I'm stressed. And taking just 10 minutes to stretch really alleviates so much of that. And I'm like, okay, need to do this more. And that's where those sticky notes or like my little label maker on my laptop comes in handy. Like take a breath, stretch, do the things that you know help. A lot of my clients also like journaling. I'm not a huge journaler, but I'll do voice memos of like, this is how I'm feeling. This is what, like, to get it out of your mind
Yeah.
because we keep it in our mind so much. So yeah, outside walks, listening to something, and journaling of some sort. I have a client who does vlogging for herself. She does it on, it's the
Mm.
private YouTube channel, but she's every single week she's gone live for herself and like done a debrief of the previous week, what she needs to work on, how she's doing. And I think it's the coolest thing.
That's a really good idea. I never thought about that. Like do it like kind of like a journal. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um Now you have a Facebook group, right?
I do.
What is that called?
So it's called Get Fit With Me, Expanding Your Physical and Mental Fitness.
Whoa.
It's a really long name.
I was gonna say that's a really long name.
Yes, I will make sure to send you the link
Yes,
so that
please
you
do.
have it. In that group, it's for anybody. It's for anybody who wants to expand their physical fitness. So like learning how to be functional out in life, learning how to use equipment, learning how to create their own home gym. anyone who wants to expand their mental fitness. So understanding your why, routines and habits, goal setting. We do a lot of goal setting in there. I've created a framework that actually like gets you to your goals rather than just like do the thing.
Right.
Great. And then we talk about nutrition. I couldn't make the name any longer. So we do talk about nutrition as well. And every single week I go live for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. I have people live on Zoom with me.
Wow.
And we interact. It streams right into the Facebook group. So if you're ever like, I can't be on live, you're welcome to watch the replay. Interact in the comments. And it's a good support group just to be like, I'm not the only one struggling with this. Like there is help. There are tips and tricks. Like I give away a bunch of freebies. I think last week or a couple weeks ago, I gave away one of my recipe books for anyone who dropped the word recipe in our live training as we were talking about stuff.
What?
So if there's anything that you like enjoy and you want to learn about, I'm always welcome to teach on it too. That's my best. That's my favorite. Is if you're David, if you're like, I want to really learn about this, I'll either say, I know nothing about that. Let me find an expert to come in and teach us. Or I'll say, okay, let's do it. I'll teach on that in this next month.
That is really cool. That is really cool because I think that like, well, for one, I think it's cool because you've kind of built a community of, people who are willing to support each other and just learn in general about fitness and just being healthy all around. But I also think that's cool that you're willing to bring in experts especially when you don't know about a subject. That's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I know I'm not the expert on it all. So if I can find the person who is that wants to come talk to my people, to my community, absolutely. I want them there so they can learn from the best.
It's almost like a podcast in a sense.
It is. I've turned it into a non-public podcast because I use a really cool platform called Searchy. So if I add it to a playlist, I can click the link and it's like a private podcast. So you can only get it if I give you the link type of thing.
Oh, okay.
But you can listen to everything.
Okay.
It's a little different when I do demos and you can't really see what I'm demoing because it's a podcast, but like you can still get all the concepts of you listening.
Well, you could do it in video. You could do a video podcast.
I've never done video. So is it like, when I think of podcast, I think of like Apple Podcast or Google Podcast, or when I think of video podcast, I think of YouTube.
Okay. Well, for one, this podcast will be on Spotify also, so as video.
Spotify does video?
They do. Yeah. So
I did not know that.
Yeah. So all my episodes are on video on Spotify.
So see, I always just click the link from the browser, and I guess I never realized that I could do it from my phone. That is awesome. I'm super excited about that.
So what I really like about the Spotify, is that like, with YouTube, when you're listening or watching a video, if you want to close out your phone, it shuts off. Whereas like Spotify, you could listen to it or watch it. So like if I was listening to this podcast on Spotify, I could open my phone and then watch it. Or if I wanted to close it, there's no interruptions whatsoever. It's pretty cool.
That's a really cool thing Spotify is doing. I haven't had Spotify in a little bit, so I love learning new tech stuff. I used to hate tech. Now I love tech.
I love tech. I mean, it's something that you have to keep up with, because if you don't keep up with, it'll get away from you.
Oh, absolutely. And you also have to remember that, like, so I teach my people the same thing. If you have a system that works and it's doing the thing it needs to do, don't switch it. Don't reinvent it. Like, unless you're having issues, then we can look at a different app. I have so many people that have downloaded multiple different apps because they're like, well, this one didn't work for 2 days. Okay, you need to give it more than 2 days of seeing if it works before we switch to download something else.
So real quick, I think we're almost like an hour in, right? Yeah. What is your goals for the business? I mean, obviously you're helping people, you're helping them mentally and physically, and even emotionally. Do you see yourself possibly even like creating like a fitness app?
So the goals for my business, I kind of struggle with sometimes because this is so new to me, and this year is my first full year of doing it full time. That I've kind of struggled with like, okay, where do I want to see this going in 5 years or in 10 years? I would love to create something, and an app is probably what I'd create it on, but some sort of way, because Facebook is great. Facebook's a great way to grow community. There's so many people on there. The downside is I don't own Facebook. Facebook can shut down tomorrow and I could lose all my community people. I could lose all the stuff that I've put out there.
Right.
So I'd love to create something that allows my people to have a community outside of Facebook. And whether it's us messaging back and forth in a group or them having all my tutorials in one spot, because I have stuff on Facebook, I have stuff on YouTube. I want a spot where it's all consolidated together.
Right.
And I don't know if that's something that I need to create or if it's something that's out there that's like, and if anybody listening knows and they're like, oh, I know that thing. Okay, let me know what that thing is.
I mean, I have a suggestion, but I can't remember the name of it, and I'd have to send it to you. So I might have to send that later. Yeah. There's an app that I know a lot of like fitness people use, and it's like a universal app, but you can like, I'm trying to like figure out a way to describe it, but you like set up an account and you can put all your content on there. I wish I could remember the name. I know Nick Bear, he uses it.
Okay.
I don't know if you know who Nick Bear is. He's a like online fitness freak, whatever. But he uses it for all his content. You can like subscribe to, his workouts and his fitness plans or whatever. So
yeah, no, I'd love to hear what that is. Cause like I said, like I know in the future that I want it off of somebody else's platform. I'd like something of my own, essentially.
Yeah.
And really my biggest thing this year is I want to grow my accountability program for not just me holding the other person accountable, but for the group to be so big that everyone's checking in with each other. That like the fun part about what I do is I have people in Michigan, I have people in Lansing, I have people in Maryland, I have people in Washington.
Wow.
I have people from all over.
That's incredible.
Are my clients or are listening to me or who are learning and who are connecting with other people. And to me, that's the coolest thing is like, we're not just where we are or the people we see every day. We can meet like I'm going to Wisconsin for a retreat that they've hired me on to do a women's retreat for them for 2 days. And that was through a connection.
Wow.
Which I probably wouldn't have had if all I was doing was face-to-face handshake or maybe, but it would have taken a lot longer.
Yeah.
So I just love seeing the group connection from like one small basement to anywhere else in the world.
That's the power of the internet, right? I mean, it's kind of funny to think about. Like, I mean, I'm assuming you're like around the same age as me. I'm 28.
Yep. 26.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's awesome. And you have a business and everything. That's incredible. Yeah. That's one thing. Like I remember being young and the internet was, I guess, kind of getting invented. And I remember dial up, like nobody is like expected the internet to go where it is today. And it's amazing that you can use the internet for so many good things, like to influence the world. It's insane. Like the capabilities of it are limitless.
It is. But I also find that like, if your internet goes out at your house and you're supposed to have something happen, like we sometimes don't know how to like deal with that when that happens. Whereas before we were like, oh, internet doesn't work.
Oh, well.
We'll just call them up on the phone. Like we tend to go into panic mode now. So
I for sure do.
Yep, I do. I'm like, crap, the Wi-Fi is not working. What do I have to do to switch around and make it work? Like,
yeah, that's one thing that I think a lot of people are pretty dependent on is the internet these days. But I know I'm dependent on it, especially with a podcast. Like right now, if the internet at my house went out, I'd be screwed. I'd be like, oh boy, what am I gonna do?
And it's a luxury, but it's also like it's this
tool.
double-edged sword of like, are we so dependent on it? But like it allows us to do some awesome things.
Yeah.
So it's like finding that balance. And that's where I try to find it in my off time of like, I turned off all my notifications all weekend. It was fantastic. I got no notifications unless it was a text. And I was like, oh, this is great.
That's
then
healthy.
Monday morning came along and you see all the notifications. But then that's for Monday morning.
That's really healthy because I know, including myself, I get caught up in being on social media, and I don't really post all that much except for like the podcast. But I get caught up on being on social media and like responding to text messages, and I'm constantly on my phone. But not being on your phone is so much more healthier. I've deleted Facebook and all the social media apps. I've put time limits on my phone before, and during those times when I was doing that, I felt so much better. Just felt healthier.
And I think that's where some of mine come. That's why I still love my paper and pencil for my to-do list. Like it's one less thing. Like, yeah, I do need my computer to complete the to-do list, but I don't have another thing open to make sure that I like am doing it. Like I open my journal every single morning, what needs to be done. And everything is handwritten. Also, because unfortunately, we never know when our laptops may not do the things they're supposed to do, and we may lose all the things.
Oh,
so I
please don't say that.
so much on pen and paper.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. It's old school for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's like that safety security that I still know of, like, I can control this.
Yeah.
Because there's so much other that we can't control that we end up always trying to grasp to something where if I know I can control this, just like I can control my workouts, I can control what I put in my body, I can control how much water I drink. Like no one else chooses that for me. I get to choose that every day, how much I have and what it's going to do for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else you want to bring up on the podcast? Talk about, promote? By the way, you should do a podcast. You should do it like a fitness podcast.
I'm definitely going to check out Spotify and see what that looks like and how that all works, because that is really cool.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's pretty cool.
I don't think so. This has been awesome. I really enjoyed this.
It has. The only thing that would make this podcast better is if it was in person. But
yeah,
hopefully next time.
Hopefully next time. Mondays are one day where I still kind of have a side job. I have my nanny family that I've been with forever. So I do my business in the morning and then I run and see them for a couple hours in the afternoon. So this was my in-between time. So I'm really happy I was able to fit it in. And then next time we can do it in person.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind doing Skype, but there's always like some sort of element that you lose when you're talking to somebody through a computer. Like, I mean, obviously, you do it for a living. Yep. But for me, I like to personally meet people, shake their hands, like sit across from them, and like, I don't know, it adds a whole different perspective to the conversation. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah. I have a friend out in Washington and we met for the first time in person. And it's like, that's what you look like from the chest down. I didn't realize how tall or short you were. Like it's those elements that you don't get to see until you're in person. And you can only depict them so much when you see even their full body on whatever social media or on the Zoom screen.
Right. Exactly. Well, do you think you could take us out with like some sort of like inspirational quote or some sort of phrase?
Okay.
What's something that you tell your the people you train all the time? Like, I talk about it all the time, but there's a guy I've had on the podcast. He always says like, be the best you, and he might explain that a little bit. Is there like some sort of phrase like that you kind of try to live by?
Keep it simple.
Don't
overcomplicate what you want to do in reaching your goals. Like keep it simple, one foot in front of the other. And yes, it's small and it's slow, but it eventually adds up. You eventually get to see how far you've come. Keep it simple.
I love it. Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you so much. I will make sure to send you the links and stuff that you need.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you so much for having me on today, David. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I hope you have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.